I mean, I guess I can't technically complain about this movie because I did get exactly what I was expecting. But that still doesn't excuse how lazy it was. I mean, this is the same director as The Good Dinosaur, and that's a pretty forgettable Pixar film. And even to this day, nobody really talks about it. You mention it, and they'll go, okay, yeah, that's a movie that exists, isn't it? And the one thing that Good Dinosaur had going for it was the animation. And it's the same thing here. The animation in this film is so good. I gotta praise the animation. It is top-notch. I will give it that. It's very different than anything Pixar's done. But that's pretty much it, because on a story and character level, I found it very lazy and predictable. And it is also super, super heavy-handed. If Zootopia was too subtle for you, don't worry. This will really hammer home the point that they're trying to make. Which is a shame, because the world of the movie that they created is really fun. There's a lot of vibrancy, there's a lot of creativity, it looks very nice, but the jokes, I mean, even the jokes, though, they used all the good jokes in the trailer. Seriously, there weren't any jokes in this movie that weren't already in the trailer. And the problem is, there's not really any complexity or depth to these characters. They only have one trait, and even then, they don't really overcome their flaw. The fire girl, her flaw is she gets angry really easily. Does she learn how to control her anger by the end of the movie? Not really. The water guy, he gets overly emotional. Now, I get that they're saying it's okay for men to cry. It's okay for men to get emotional, but my word, the way they do it with this dude, he cries over literally everything, and it gets so annoying so fast. And no, he does not learn how to control his emotions. In fact, him being overly emotional actually ends up helping him in the end, so there's not really any character development. The characters are all very one joke, they're all very one trait, and it gets old and boring so quickly. The best Pixar films are the ones where the plot doesn't really go where you think it's going to go. Toy Story 3, Woody doesn't get to go to college with Andy. Up, Carl doesn't get to live in Paradise Falls. Monsters University, Sully and Mike don't graduate. This one goes exactly how you think. It's Romeo and Juliet with a slightly better ending. Now, I will say this, the romance between the main characters, it is very sweet. But it is such a simple concept that it feels so stretched out. And it's the same thing with WALL-E. The romance aspect of WALL-E was really cute. But once you hit that second half of the film, it's just not as interesting. And I bet you're saying, unlike WALL-E, WALL-E would have worked a lot better as a short, but I don't even think this would have worked better as a short. Because they already did a short very much like this called Night and Day, which is pretty much the same thing as this. Two characters that think they're incredibly different, and then by the end they discover they have a lot in common despite their differences. And honestly, I think this movie probably would have worked better if the relationship between the two characters was platonic. Because since it's a forbidden love story, you get all the rom-com cliches. If the movie had gone, well, maybe we're not necessarily compatible as a couple, but we can still have a great friendship, that might have worked a lot better. I think that would have been a good way to subvert the expectations of the audience a bit more. But instead, they gave us a cliche, lazy, heavy-handed story. It's gonna be forgotten pretty quickly, which is a shame because, again, very creative world, very creative concept, but they were so lazy with it, which is so disappointing because this had a lot of potential and they just felt like they wasted it. So, unfortunately, I only have to give Elemental a C+, 7 out of 10, and a 3.5 out of 5 stars. You can wait to stream it. The one good thing I will say, there was a short before this movie that was about the old man from Up, and it was a nice way to sort of conclude that story, and that was very sweet. That was kind of like top 2 picks of what they used to do. So maybe you'll see it just for that, and then leave after the short, get a refund, and go see Spider-Verse again, and then wait for this to hit Disney Plus if you really want to see how the old man's story ends. If you want to see something super promotional for that, then go see it for that. But yeah, it wasn't that great of a film. It was